Hello, welcome to yet another video on Power BI. And in this video, we're going to talk about very important concept around formatting the charts. Now, professional level dashboards or visualization need a very high level of quality in terms of the look and feel of the visualization. So for that, we need to understand how we format the charts. So formatting is more or less same across all the charts with few variations. For example, some formatting might be uh, particularly applicable to a specific chart and some to some other chart type. So let's start with the very basic stack bar chart, which we have already covered in some past video. So let's try to understand how we can format this chart. So for this, first click the chart, and then once you've clicked it, click on this icon which says format your visuals. If you click this, then you will have these options. One would be under visuals, the other option would be under general. So let's talk about the visual first. In the visual, we have formatting option for y-axis and x-axis, and you also see these axes are turned on. You can turn them off like this, which will take out your y-axis or x-axis as and when you switch it on and off, right? Now, this might have some specific use case. I can show some examples once we have talked about labels. So before that, let's first talk about the y-axis. So in this, you see the values can be shown in different fonts. So you can change the font if you want, right, like this, or you can change the font size like this. So maybe this is a better font if you want it, and then let me just keep it semi bold, and let me just increase it to 16 because my chart is pretty small, so I can accommodate a bigger font size. And over here, this is the x-axis, but let's stick to the y-axis first. I have all these options. I can change the color over here of my these labels. So let me make it dark blue like this, so like this. And then there are a few other things you can use. For example, you can switch axis position, so this goes from left to right, but I'll stick with the original one. And there are a few other options, but these one remain the most important ones. Next, in the y-axis, you can change the or add the title. For example, here it's auto. You can say this y-axis is for regions, so you can add regions over here, and you get this regions over here, right? You can also change the font and style of this title. So all these things can be done. You can change the color also. Likewise, if you move to x-axis, now in this case, y-axis is categorical data and x-axis is numerical data. So you have few other options in x-axis for this chart only. For example, you can specify the minimum and the maximum range by hard coding or writing it here, or by writing some function around it. But we are using or sticking to auto because it will automatically pick the minimum and the maximum value for the x-axis based on the data. A few other things like logarithmic scale and invert range. Invert range means you write it from maximum to minimum. Previously it was minimum to maximum, or from in ascending order, right? So this is inverting the range. Again, it has some use case in some particular chart types, or when you want to create a specific kind of bar chart. So these were the x and the y-axis, and again you can change few other things like title and all in these also. Let me just show you changing the title in x-axis. See, it changes to population, right? So all these things can be done. Next is grid lines. So in grid lines, basically grid lines are these lines which might not be very clearly visible over here, but these are small guiding lines which help you to kind of check where these, like 0.2 billion, where is it falling in these different bars, right? Just to give you a hint. So these grid lines sometimes are great, but sometimes you might not want them. So for example, just to show you, I'll just make it a little dark. So now these grid lines are visible, right? So you can change the color of these grid lines, that is point number one. And also you can change the size also of this grid line. Or if you want, you can just switch them off, right? Switch them on, switch them off. Grid lines are particularly for numerical data, for showing where the numerical data is intersecting on these bars. So those were the grid lines. For the time being, let me just get rid of them. Next is zoom slider, very interesting feature. In zoom slider, if you turn it on, so you will see this numerical axis. In this case, there is only one numerical axis because y-axis being categorical gives you this horizontal zoom slider. And sometimes you want to get rid of values which are beyond a specific value. For example, if you want to get rid of values which are beyond, let's say 250 million like this, so you use this zoom slider and that area is cut off from here. Likewise, if I want to get rid of values which are below 150 million, let's say, so that was zoom slider. Next is, let me just switch off the zoom slider. Next is bars. Now bars, again, as you can see, these are the bars and you can change the color of these bars, right? So this way you can change it to different colors. You can also change the spacing between different bars and also add some padding inside the bars. For example, if I increase the inner padding, right, so this has this kind of effect on the bar. And if you change this minimum category width, then it will give a minimum width to each category. So for example, this is more highlighted once I use more number of data points here in the y-axis. So for example, this is the state, right? So now if I go back to my formatting, let me just make it really large. So you see, I made this 52, so the width category is minimum 52, so it is trying to increase the width, so that's why I'm getting lesser number of states over here. So if you want to add more values on the given that y-axis a lot of values, you reduce the size so that it can accommodate more bars over here, right? So this you can go up till this value only, go down up till this value only, but this is another way you can change the width of the bars. So next is data labels. To demonstrate that, I'll just change this state to regions like this. So now in data labels, if I turn them on, we'll get some labels over here, and you'll see some labels are inside, some are outside. So we can further format this. If you go down here in data labels, under options, you can say position inside end, right? So which means inside the end of these bars, or you can say outside the end, which is everything is outside the bar like this. And the few other combination like inside bar, sorry, inside center, so the center, and inside base. So most of the times it will depend on how much is the total length of the bar, because sometimes the bar are very small, so these numbers will not fit in, right? Or maybe there is no space, so it might not be able to come at the outside of the end of the bar. So depending on the bar, you might have to try a few combinations, but I like this one because if your bar is of length which can accommodate some labels, so this way you can have a good view of the data as well, right? Or maybe bring it to the extreme end, inside end, right? So you can say like this. So and then you can further, like, you can change the font size. So let me just make it 16, right? And then you can also change the color. So I think this is important because let's say you have a very dark background, and if you again take a dark color, so it will not be visible. So you need to have a contrasting color. So use whiter shade, which is going well in this case, right? And you can also add some display units to it. So for example, you can use auto, or in case you wanted millions, so you can just add millions and it will turn the values in millions. You can even add a decimal place. I'm not going there. And then finally you can even add a background. So if I click on the background, so you can add a background here, which is giving the background to the numbers. So for example, we make it this and like this, right? So this is giving a background. Just in case if your font is not really visible, you can give this background to these labels. And lastly, very interesting is the plot area background. So in this case, you can add an image to the background. So let me demonstrate that to you with this example. So if I go to plot area background, and it gives an option to browse. You browse to image you want to put in, and I have this image and I have put this image over here, and then you can say fit image fit as normal, fit, or fill. All these options are there. So this way you can add a very interesting background to your chart, which adds an extra level of design element to your visualization, right? So that's all in this video where we covered formatting for bar chart. We will cover more videos and more formatting in the next few videos. This is Manu from Climatic Data Labs. If you like our video, please subscribe to our channel and do like, comment, and share on this video. Thank you so much.